Hello all, I'd like to welcome you all and thank everyone for joining us. I'm Atsuko Ichikawa, one of EducationUSA advisors in Tokyo. Today's session is hosted by EducationUSA Tokyo. Before introducing 6 wonderful speakers for today, let me briefly introduce about EducationUSA. EducationUSA is a U.S. Department of State network of over 400 advising centers in more than 170 countries and territories. The network promotes U.S. higher education to students around the world by offering accurate, comprehensive, and current information about opportunities to study at accredited post-secondary institutions in the United States. In Japan, we have 6 EducationUSA centers at U.S. Embassy and consulates. If you have any questions, please contact EducationUSA near you. So now please join me in welcoming 6 speakers for today. By alphabetical order of institutions, Zach, Alexa, Shannon, Lorenzo, Caitlin, and Jared. So now I'll hand it over to Caitlin.
Great, thank you so much, Atsuko. And just give me one moment, everyone, as I prepare to share my screen with all of you. And then we'll go ahead and get started. All right, so thank you everyone so much for joining us today for finding your path or how to choose a major. So we have a little bit over an hour to present to you today, and we'll hope we'll be able to start to answer some of the questions you have around choosing a major, preparing for your major, and then all of the different major options that are available to you at US universities. Now, we will be taking questions at the end of the presentation, but please feel free to ask questions as we go along, and then we hope to answer as many as we can after the presentation. But before we get started, I'd like to just take a moment to have us all introduce ourselves, and I'll go first. My name is Caitlin Healy, and I am the Assistant Director of International Admissions here at the University of Vermont, or UVM as we're also known, and I'll pass things over to my colleague Lorenzo.
All right, thanks so much, Caitlin, and hi everyone. My name is Lorenzo. I'm an international admissions counselor at the University of Oregon, and we are located in the city of Eugene in the state of Oregon, which is in the Pacific Northwest of the US. So over to Alexa.
Thanks, Lorenzo. Hi, everyone. Thank you for joining us today. My name is Alexa Brown, and I'm a senior international admission counselor for the University of Colorado Boulder, which is in Boulder, Colorado. Over to Shannon.
Hello, everyone. My name is Shannon O'Hagan, and I am Assistant Director in International Admissions at the University of Missouri. We're located centrally in the U.S. Jared?
Hi, everyone. My name is Jared Fuller, and I'm the International Admissions Counselor here at University of Wisconsin-Madison. Pass it over to Zach.
Hello, everyone. My name is Zachary Huxford. I'm the International Admissions Officer here at Rutgers University in New Brunswick, located on the east coast of the U.S. in New Jersey. And Caitlin, I think it's back to you.
Great, thanks so much, everyone. So before we get started on our presentation on majors, we first just wanted to tell you a little bit about the shared characteristics of our institutions. So in addition to us all being colleagues and friends, we all represent universities that have a lot in common, which is why we have chosen to come together and present as a group. So firstly, we are all flagship universities, and flagship universities are oftentimes the first university that's founded within a US state. They tend to be larger in size and offer the most research opportunities within that state, as well as offering the most doctoral programs. So that also means that our universities are research universities. And so we are all classified as either R1 or R2 research universities. In the US, this is known as the Carnegie classification for research institutions, which means that all of our universities presenting here today are participating in the highest levels of research across US higher education. Another thing that our universities have in common is that we all participate in Division I athletics. And Division I just means that we are competing at the highest level that you can compete at in athletics in the United States. And so while there may be opportunities for you to get involved in athletics, what this really means is that athletics are a really big part of our campus cultures and are really a great way for students to get involved and feel like they are part of the campus community and get to attend different sporting events that are offered. And then finally, our universities all have residential campuses, which means that we, of course, offer on-campus housing and on-campus dining, but we also offer different support systems that can really help our students adjust academically and culturally into our different campus communities. So that's just a little bit to introduce you all to our universities and tell you about what we have in common. But now we'd like to move on to the main presentation, which is on choosing a major. And I'm going to turn things over to my colleague Alexa next, who is going to talk about the first few steps that you can take when it comes to choosing your major, which will really include examining yourself. So looking at, who you are as a person, exploring all of the different options that are available to you, and then building your experience to help you choose that major. So Alexa, I will pass things off over to you now.
Perfect. Thank you so much, Caitlin. And again, thank you to all of you on this call today, not just our prospective students, but all of our colleagues from EducationUSA and counselors, parents who might be joining us, as well as my colleagues. It's always a pleasure to present. So as we're talking about exploring different major opportunities, the first thing you really want to do is get in tune with yourself, get in tune with what are the things that you value, what are your interests, and what are your skills. And as you're starting to explore the different majors or academic programs, as well as potential careers that are available to you, you're really going to want to start to make lists of what these things are so that you can keep them in the back of your mind as potential motivation as you pursue that career or program in your undergraduate experience at university. So when you're exploring these things about yourself, you're going to be addressing things like what's important to you, what do you care about, how do you determine success? And this is specifically, how do you determine success? Because industries are changing so rapidly. Something we always share is that so many jobs that will exist by the time you graduate don't exist yet. And so what are the ways in which you're going to be working towards innovation, trying new things, and exploring different things that really are going to help you grow? What do you like to talk about? What do you maybe already have a little bit of expertise in? We know that you're in secondary or high school right now, and so you're not expected to know everything about anything, because that's what going to university is for, is to teach you so much about something in particular that you're passionate about and that you want to build a career in. But what are the things that you like to discuss? What makes you curious? How do you spend your free time, whether that's activities or extracurriculars that are involved with the classes you take? How do you challenge yourself, and what are you curious about? And then what do you already do well, and what skills do you want to develop? So many students or many individuals have innate talents and skills that really set them up for success in particular majors. But another thing that's really going to help set you up for success is the drive and determination and willingness to be able to study and really put all of your energy and effort into learning something new about that thing that you're super passionate about. And so one of the really good ways to get in tune with those skill sets, if maybe you're not so used to bragging about yourself or talking about the things that you're good at, is to ask your friends and family for what you are good at, because these are the people who are likely asking you for advice in many situations. Whether it's for your help on a particular project, say you're really good at putting things together in construction and management, or maybe you're a very analytical thinker. And so when it comes to actually engaging in those conversations, you'll start to see kind of this trend start to appear with the important people in your life that can help you make this college decision, as well as the choice about your actual major. And so the resources that you have access to now might include a university or career counselor at your high school. Of course, friends, family stories, experiences. If you know people who have studied in the US, they're a great resource, but also those with higher education experience can really help guide you in this process. EducationUSA, you all have made a huge step in being here today. They're a really excellent resource to be helping you through this process of exploring your opportunities, not just in terms of where you want to go for university, but also what it is that you want to study, again, based on those skill sets and interests that you might have. And many of these resources are still going to exist when you get to the university level. They just have different names. So university or careers counselors could still be career advisors, but you're also absolutely going to have an academic advisor who's going to make sure you stay on track to graduate within the time that you'd like to graduate in, traditionally 4 years, as well as the mentorship of professors, faculty members, award-winning individuals doing phenomenal research and projects in our campus communities and internationally as well. And then, of course, relying on your peers. Things become very collegial when you get to college, which means that you're working with your peers, not just those who could be your resident advisors or assisting you with anything from that peer level, but also just your friends who are going through the courses, potentially struggling through the rigor of those classes as well. So you're in it together with some of these friends of yours, and you can really help each other out. And I think that that is a fun new thing about college, is you can really learn to rely on each other as you go through this university experience in this part of your adulthood. And if we can go on to the next slide, when it comes to actually building your experience, you're going to want to look into the different activities that you can do right now to help you with that transition. Essentially, we want that transition to the university experience to be a bit more easy. And sometimes that helps by diversifying the ways that you're using your time now. And we know that with the pandemic, access to certain opportunities has definitely decreased or become more challenging. And so any way in which you're participating in your community is a really good thing to keep note of. If you're helping your family in a particular area, how you're involved at school and clubs and organizations, if you've been shadowing someone, even if it's a family member at their job, if you have a part-time job or an internship or have maybe done research. Again, we're not expecting you to be an expert, to have internship opportunities or research, or to have founded a business as a high school student. But if you have really moved forward in some of those areas, it's something to keep in mind as you're considering applying to university. And as I said, many of these things do continue to exist in universities. So you're in a really good place to explore some of the things that you do like. And maybe right now you find out that there are certain things you don't want to do in college, and that is absolutely okay. You'll still have clubs and organizations, different ways to get involved in and outside of the classroom. So there's definitely ways to engage in that research that Caitlin was talking about that exists on all of our campuses, as well as internships, student job opportunities. Student government is really big on a lot of our campuses if you're looking for leadership opportunities. So you're really starting to see what it means to build that experience. So with that all being said, I'm going to pass things over to Lorenzo to talk a little bit more about the timeline and when you actually get to declare a major.
Awesome. Thanks so much, Alexa. And hi again, everyone. So yeah, I'm just going to talk briefly about what it looks like to declare a major and kind of the different stages when you might actually be doing that. I think there's usually like a misconception sometimes of like, when you are first applying, like right out of high school, you need to know what you're going to study, and you need to know what that major will be. And that's not necessarily the case. And for some, that might be great news because it allows you for a little more flexibility to, study different things and explore. For others, you might already know what you want to do, and that's totally fine. So basically, just to give you a brief idea, the first time when you can actually go ahead and declare your major, and I'll point out it can vary by institution, it can vary by program as well, and I'll kind of tell you how that might happen. But the first time that you would actually have the opportunity to declare a major would be when you first apply for admission to the particular university that you're looking to go to. And so basically, as you complete an application, it'll ask you, what program you're interested in, and it asks you that for a lot of reasons. Sometimes universities admit students based on a particular major, and sometimes specific programs have kind of a hard deadline and a hard process, right? That it might not be too flexible. Some of the programs that I can think of are, for example, architecture or design programs, also music, different programs like that, where it might not just be the main application, but you might also have to submit more materials and really show that you are passionate about that field. So that is when you might have to actually declare that particular major when you're first applying for admission. You can also declare major after you enroll. This is actually very common, especially for students who, when they submit an admission application, they list that they are undecided or exploring as their major, and that is extremely common. I think more and more, students are choosing that because maybe they're interested in many different things, and they want to take, that first or second year to explore, take different classes in different subject areas. The great thing about that is that in the majority of universities, you can really explore and not waste any time, because any of those courses will eventually count towards any degree that you eventually choose to get. So that is kind of the beauty of this kind of general education attached to any degree that you eventually get, is you have that opportunity to explore, apply as undecided, and then we usually recommend that at the end of your second year in college, you go ahead and declare a major so that you can graduate in 4 years total. So that is kind of a good timeline to keep in mind. And then one thing that I really like to tell students is that you're not, your major that you choose right when you apply is not set in stone. And actually, take it from me, I changed my major for the last time during my third year in college. I still graduated in 4 years. That was kind of the beauty of taking those general education courses. And so it's never too late, really, to change your major. Yeah, if you do it in your fourth year, you might have to add a semester or two on top of that. But again, if you find that you are passionate about a new subject later on in your college career, that's totally fine. You can work with your academic advisors and other departmental advisors as well to help you through that change and help you figure out what new classes you would have to take. So you can change your major in many stages. You can change it after you have applied, but before you have been admitted or before you enroll. You would just have to communicate with the admissions office for the most part, and we can help you kind of get that change of major out of the way. Before enrolling, you might be able to do it to change your major at like an orientation session right before classes start, or when you meet with your advisor, or as it says on that final bullet point, you can change it at any time, any point in your education career. So again, key things to know is that there's a lot of flexibility as you go through college. Don't feel like what you choose right out of high school is what you are kind of stuck with. You can always change, add a major, add a minor, and add different programs like that. So with that, I'll go ahead and pass it along.
Thanks, Lorenzo. Hi again. So with that, what I wanted to talk to you a little bit about is kind of that preparation leading up to when you're selecting your major. And in some cases, this actually starts as early as when you're in high school. Now, for students that are looking to apply and maybe are undecided, they don't have a specific major in mind. A lot of universities, most universities, are going to have general entrance requirements that you're probably going to want to make sure that you familiarize yourself with. Now, generally speaking, these requirements are met by the completion of your diploma or high school programs. But it is important that if you're going to hear this a couple times as I'm talking here, if you're unsure, you can always reach out to the schools that you're applying to. But a good rule of thumb, if you're looking to apply undecided, or you're not really sure, just making sure that you go in and check those general entrance requirements for the schools that you're applying to. Now, if you are sure that you know the major that you're going to apply to, you have it kind of in mind, there may be some schools that have certain majors that do have specific courses that you are going to have to take. And actually, one of the best examples of that, I think, a lot of times is engineering. And you're going to see that in a couple different areas, depending on what the focus is that you're going to do. But a good example for engineering is they're going to ask for math, but more specifically, they're going to ask you to take calculus classes, a little bit higher level math classes in most cases. For Rutgers specifically, we do ask students to have at least calculus completed, and on a case-by-case basis, also they review for pre-calculus as well. So just so you're just aware of it, make sure that whatever school that you're applying to, if the school is actually asking you to apply directly to that major, find out, see if there are any courses that they are actually requiring to take, to make sure that you're ahead of it, make sure that they're on your schedule for your junior, your senior year, and you're on track to have them all completed by the time that you've graduated. On top of that, some majors may require a certain level of those classes. For example, as I was saying before, for students that may be applying undecided or going into maybe a more general major, though they might just require a certain number of years of just math broadly, not really anything specific or anything like that. But some schools may want to see those higher level classes, maybe AP or something like that. So again, the rule of thumb here, if you're unsure, if you're not 100% sure, you can always reach out and contact us. For the most part, the one thing that universities have done very, very well over the past year through COVID is making sure that information is very available and easy to access online. So make sure that you're checking the websites. A lot of the schools will actually have each major and list all of the requirements for them. But if that doesn't work, or you're having trouble kind of navigating any of that information, you can always reach out to the school representatives. At the end of the day, it's our job to make sure that you have all the information that you need to make that decision when the time comes. With that, I'm going to hand it off to my friend Shannon.
Great, thanks, Zach. So when you are all looking at our university websites, and especially universities like those represented today that have many different options, we understand that sometimes it can be overwhelming. A lot of our universities have hundreds of degree programs from bachelor's through PhD, and even 100 or more undergraduate programs. So when you're looking through that list, it's really helpful to kind of start exploring what those different options are. And the good news is that our websites do have helpful resources to help you learn more about the programs. But we wanted to give you a jump start on that by talking about some different categories of areas that might be worth exploring. Some popular majors we have, some unique majors, and some newly established majors, because maybe there's a program out there for you that you don't even know exists. So I'm going to start by talking a little bit about popular majors. And these are majors that you'll find at many campuses in the US and many of our campuses here today. So a lot of students who are interested in studying in our university and who ultimately come to our universities will initially declare a major or an interest on their application in areas like business, STEM fields, so science, technology, math, within that computer science, technology related programs. And so these are our strengths of particularly research universities. So we'll have a lot of students interested in these areas. Another really popular area of study on our campuses is psychology. This is on my campus, for example, among our most popular majors. So it's really popular for students to study psychology. And some students will study this and then continue on to graduate level study or continue on to any number of industries. Another popular one would be in political science. So studying the politics of the US or global regions and the science behind that, and getting involved in some of the research and data that drives different aspects of society and politics. These are some areas that you'll see quite popular across US campuses, and why I think it's helpful to know popular majors across the board is because you'll know that there are a lot of options out there for you when exploring different universities. So if you happen to be interested in one of these areas of study, you'll likely find a lot of universities that could be a good match for you, because a lot of universities do offer these programs. And so it takes then that next step of diving a little bit deeper into the different programs that interest you to learn a little bit more about the specific coursework offered by those universities, or perhaps the research strengths or their unique connections to industry, to figure out if that major and that program is a good fit for you at those different universities that are of interest. Now, you'll also find among all of our campuses some unique majors. So we have programs on our campuses that might be areas you're not familiar with, or might be programs of study that are a little bit more specific than some of the more broad-based majors that you hear about more often. And so how I wanted to handle this was to do a little bit of a round robin or jumping around, where we can kind of highlight some of the unique majors that we offer on our campuses. So I'm going to kick that off by talking about a major at my campus, which is called Digital Storytelling. And this is a program that combines creativity with technology. It's for students who are interested in working in any number of fields where you're using technology to tell a narrative or to tell a story, hence digital storytelling. And this can be something like advertising. So advertising companies will often be telling a story through their different efforts, or things like fundraising, or even things like video game design, where there's a narrative involved in the development of that video game. So that's just one example from my campus. I will pass it to, I'm guessing Jared, being dairy science, would be my guest for Wisconsin. And I'll let him then send it off from there.
Yeah, that was a good guess, Shannon. So yeah, so that major is here at UW-Madison, and that's in our College of Agricultural and Life Sciences. And I think that this is an example of a unique major that I think is very reflective of, you know, maybe the location or the home state of where, you know, a university is located. So here in Wisconsin, the heartland of the US and the upper Midwest, you know, agriculture is a very big part of our home state economy. And within that, the dairy industry is very big. Wisconsin's referred to as America's dairy land. We're very well known for producing all sorts of great things like cheese and ice cream and all sorts of stuff that you can enjoy here on our campus, and students in our dairy science major often go into, you know, some fields related to those types of things. So I'm not sure exactly who's up next with the comics and cartoon studies, but whoever that may be, I'll pass it along.
Yeah, that's me. So that's a very new program at the U of O, and it's usually combined with English. I mean, I think it kind of makes some sense that we do that, but yeah, I think it's kind of gaining popularity. You know, it explores comics and cartoon studies as an actual, you know, unique art form. Kind of dives into the history of it, the appreciation of it, interpretation of it. And so students who want to add, you know, that particular subject area to an English major or like a creative writing major really fits in well with that. It's kind of like a unique program that you can really partake in. So digital storytelling, I'll go ahead and send it over, or whoever's next. I can't remember. Yeah.
Alexa, do you want to hop in?
Sure. So we offer a major called Leadership and Community Engagement here at the University of Colorado Boulder, and that is one of the two majors offered in our School of Education. So many students, when they look at the School of Education, automatically assume that the programs in that school are going to prepare them to be teachers, whether that's elementary, so grades 1 through 5, middle school 6 through 8, or even secondary school. So students can definitely get their teaching licensures and whatnot, but leadership and community engagement is the other major besides the education and teaching coursework. And really what this is all about civic engagement and being interactive within your community. So if you've been someone who's been really involved in things like student government, volunteering work with different organizations, if that civic engagement policy and things like that are really intriguing to you, that is a really awesome major. I do know that since we don't have an undergraduate program in legal studies, for example, many students will major in a program like this in preparation to attend law school, especially in combination with something like political science or international affairs, even business, if you wanted to practice business law. So it's a really good preparatory program for that. And then sustainable landscape horticulture, I'm going to take a guess that that's Caitlin. So
yeah, so at the University of Vermont, we have a lot of programs related to sustainability, which a few years ago, I would put sustainability as a unique major, but really I think sustainability as a whole is becoming a much more popular major. But because we have so many specific majors related to sustainability, I decided to pick out this one to put as a unique major because it really is so different from other programs that we offer and other programs that are related to sustainability. like ones that you've probably heard of, like environmental sciences or environmental policy and things like that. But what sustainable landscape horticulture really is looking at human impact on land and how do we really come to appreciate land? How do we use it in a sustainable way, but also in a way that's really going to be pleasing to the eye and in a way that we can really, enjoy the land on a day-to-day basis. And so it's this really unique program where it takes things like environmental sciences, but also plant biology and soil science, because you need to know how to properly grow things on the land that you're using and sustainably grow things on the land that you're using. But at the same time, it adds in aspects of business, but also art, because it's a landscape design program as well. So you can use kind of both like your scientific side of your brain, but also artistic side at the same time. So I think this is a really cool program. It's definitely for a very specific kind of student who is interested in a very specific kind of sustainability. So I was excited to share that one with you, but back over to Shannon now.
Great. So as you see, a nice little sampling there of different types of unique majors that are offered. And so unique majors overall, once again, tend to be a little bit more specialized or kind of a niche area, and or sometimes in sort of emerging areas that maybe that particular university specializes in. Now we'll talk a little bit about newly established majors. And this is one that kind of is a reflection of changes in society or in academia, and reflect areas of study that the university maybe previously didn't offer that they now see as an important area. So one example of that at my university is in public health. Now, this is one that's not necessarily all that unique. However, at my institution, we used to have public health only offered at the master's level. So we only had a master's of public health program. And the university recognized that there was a demand for a study at the bachelor's level, and that students could study this at the bachelor's level and then continue on to the master's level, or could find work in different industries with a bachelor's level credential. And so this is something that came to my university just a couple of years ago, and the timing was excellent because the public health students at our university were really engaged throughout all different aspects of addressing the pandemic, and had some really interesting research opportunities and other hands-on learning to where they could really study and have some hands-on experiences related to public health in the times of the pandemic. So that is just one example for Mizzou. I will have my colleague talk about data science. Caitlin, was that you again?
Maybe. I think I put a couple in here.
Sure.
Yeah. No, I mean, data science, I think, is something that's becoming extremely popular these days, especially as, we really are taking data-informed approaches to a lot of what we do in our decision making. This is happening at, a business level, at a small business level, at a large business level. It's happening at our universities, but it's happening everywhere and in governments. And so this is really something that I wanted to add in here, because I know that on our campus, we're seeing a lot more students join our data science program and really looking to use numbers and technology and learn how to manipulate data and read and understand data in a way that's going to help businesses and organizations make successful decision making.
Great. Did anyone else have anything they wanted to highlight? Alex, I saw you're on.
I can just add quickly that for programs like things in data science, social media studies, really any of these programs, they might be called something different on each of our campuses. And again, not all of us are going to offer all these programs, but social media studies might fall under something like communication studies on my campus. But data science is a new program in our communications college on campus. So it really just goes to show you that our fields and industries, as we said earlier, are innovating from day to day, and your colleges are adding new and improved degree programs to adapt to that as well. So I think you all have some really cool options moving forward. And that's just a small example of some of the really cool things that are just now starting to join our campuses.
Great. Well, thank you for that. And before I pass it along to Jared for the next section, I want to just kind of wrap up this slide by letting you know that we are talking about lots of different options. This is part of the process to explore and to kind of understand some of those different trends that are happening. And sometimes this reflects often it reflects kind of trends in broader society and where job demands might be, where you'll see job growth. And so different programs might be coming available as those different trends and things emerge. So that's something that you can consider when you are exploring different areas of study, because we know technology and other things in society are rapidly changing. And so there's different programs to address that demand. And I think it's also important to keep in mind that there's not one singular path for a lot of different career options. Many different leaders, so CEOs, government leaders, have a wide range of academic backgrounds and majors that they studied. And when you look at our recent graduates, for example, we'll see that students studying any number of programs go to work in a lot of different types of industries. So I think that's important to keep in mind, that you can have great long-term goals and you'll likely find more than one path to get there. And with that, I will pass along to Jared.
Great, thanks so much, Shannon. So I'm going to wrap up the main bulk of our presentation on choosing your major by just talking about some different, opportunities to explore not only your major a little deeper, but also perhaps explore some other different academic offerings on any college campus that you choose to attend. So I'm going to just briefly kind of go into detail into the 6 different options that you see here on the screen. I think it's important to know, though, that, kind of similar to your major, these are not things that you have to, decide prior to attending any of our institutions. These are things that, you can begin thinking about, but then, I think it's best in most cases to have these types of conversations with an academic advisor, pretty early on as you're beginning, and letting them know the things that you're interested in. But just, want to offer up these opportunities as ways to, just expand your horizons and be able to get the most out of your academic time on any of our college campuses. So the first thing is minors, which a lot of students are pretty familiar with, but essentially is a minor is a way to, oftentimes explore, a different field of study that is, maybe sometimes quite different from your major. And so minors are nice because it's a very flexible way to add some interdisciplinary study to your chosen major field. So in most cases, minors only require usually about 5 or 7 classes, kind of depending upon the institution or the specific minor itself, that focused in a specific field in order for you to achieve a minor in that specific field. So the minors that are offered at different schools are, going to vary, kind of similar to the way in which majors may vary. In some cases, you may need to apply for minors. In other cases, you may be able to just, freely take those elective classes. I'll say, like, for one example here at UW-Madison, our business school here is, pretty competitive for students to major in order to apply for that. And also because of that, we do require a separate application for students that want to minor in that. So I think it's just important to make sure that you fully understand any sort of requirements that come along with that as well. But it's a good flexible option for students. Another way to, be able to focus some coursework in another specific field is through double majoring. And this is something that I know I get a lot of questions about when I have conversations with students about opportunities on our campus. Double majoring is a good opportunity for some students if they know exactly, what they want to do with the, 2 separate fields. The flexibility in that is really going to be very, again, kind of vary a lot between different colleges. It's certainly a lot easier to major within the same school or college. For example, students here at our business school are pretty, it's pretty easy, pretty accessible for them to be able to choose 2 different majors and to double major within that. Whereas, majoring in 2 very specialized fields like business and engineering may be quite difficult. And at that point, you may kind of be running the risk of, first of all, whether or not that's even available to do at some certain campuses, but whether you'd be able to do that and still graduate in 4 years, which is, of course, is going to be the goal. So, just being able to have that conversation early on. Typically, in a lot of cases, you don't have to select a double major in the application process. At least for I can speak for our application here. You're going to just select one specific major as your top major. You can select an alternate major, but that's not in any way going to be designated as a double major. So it really, I think, is important to have, your main major chosen if you are interested in this specific field. And then next up, I just want to talk briefly about, some accelerated programs. So again, these are going to vary quite a bit by institutions. We only have one such program here at UW. which is our accelerated Pharmd program, where within 6 years you can get your bachelor's and doctorate degree in pharmaceutical studies. I've heard of many other schools before have, a 5-year accounting program where students can get their bachelor's and master's degree in accounting. So, those are opportunities, things that you can take a look at, and just make sure that you understand any sort of application requirements for that. Is, that's something that you may need to apply for after, a certain number of years of coursework or semesters of coursework before you can apply maybe for that accelerated type program. Some campuses have self-designed majors, which we have here at UW. It's referred to as our individualized major in our College of Letters and Science. This is, I think, an interesting option for students that are maybe interested in academia, or that's who we see a lot of students, are interested in pursuing maybe graduate level studies, PhD level studies, and can take coursework in a variety of different disciplines. And so that's, again, an interesting option if that suits you. The next two are, programs and things that, students can do across really any major, and it's really a way to add depth to your chosen field. So the first is honors programs. Just about any school in the US is going to have some sort of honors program or honors college, which offers students a lot of different resources. It can be a way for students to find community within their honors college or honors program with other students. It can be a way to just dive into your chosen major a little bit further and engage in possibly some research opportunities, some discussion sections. I know here at UW, it's a way for students to start, beginning to develop some sort of graduate level thesis that they may want to pursue after they finish their bachelor's degree here. So, again, just understanding what the different requirements are for admissions is, in most cases, it is going to be a separate application after you've been admitted, or perhaps sometimes at the same time as you're applying to the university. So again, like many other things with US higher ed, you just got to make sure that you understand how that varies in between institutions. And then the final thing I'll just talk about briefly is studying abroad. Again, of course, coming to the US is a study abroad opportunity in and of itself for all the students on the call today. But if you want to use your US institution as a launching pad to go somewhere else in the world and experience a different culture, practice some sort of world language that you're learning here on our campus, or just, if you're studying some sort of international related major, it can be a good way to get some exposure, for that field as well. For example, something like international business or international relations can really add some good depth to your major, choosing to participate in any of those programs. So again, many of these things are, things that you don't necessarily have to have decided, right now. But having an idea of, if you would be interested in these types of things is really going to be a good idea as you're continuing to research different schools and institutions that you may be interested in attending, so that you know what the specific requirements may be after you are admitted. So with that, I believe we're wrapping up the main bulk of the presentation and talking about majors. And so now we're going to go into some brief university intros so you can learn a little bit more about all the institutions that we represent. So we'll start it first with Lorenzo in the University of Oregon.
Well, thanks so much, Jared, and hi again, everyone. So I just wanted to briefly tell you a little bit about the University of Oregon. So again, we are located in the city of Eugene in the state of Oregon. So we're right above California, right below the state of Washington over here in the Pacific Northwest of the US. And Eugene is a classic college town. I mean, we have around 200,000 people. It is a very active community. And everything that goes on in the city really revolves around the university. We have around 23,000 students. As you can see from the picture there, we are a very green campus. We've actually been named the #1 green city in the US. So we do focus a lot on kind of the outdoor sustainability and the environment in general. But we have some of our most popular programs, which are business, sports business in general, architecture, law, computer science, psychology, journalism, and many programs like that. And in the sciences as well, like marine biology, due to our proximity to the ocean and all these things. So we do focus a lot on research as well. And we have some great opportunities and kind of unique as well. One of my favorite ones is the research that students can do over at our Marine Biology Institute over at the coast. They can actually use a submarine that we have available for them to do their underwater exploration. We also have TV stations or radio stations on campus for those interested in journalism, or various, real life investment consulting groups for those interested in finance or business. Just many opportunities like that for you to really get that hands-on experience in your field and graduate with all of that experience already on your resume. So it's just a brief, overview of the U of O, and I'd be happy to answer any questions at a later time as well, but I'll go ahead and pass it on.
Thanks, Lorenzo. Hi again, everyone. So again, my name is Alexa Brown, and I'm a senior international admission counselor with the University of Colorado Boulder. I myself am what we call a forever buff. So our mascot is the buffalo, and I graduated from the university in 2016. It's certainly an environment, a campus, and university experience that I'm very passionate about, and I'm excited to share more about it with you today. So as it says in the name of our university, we are located in the city of Boulder in the state of Colorado. Colorado is located in kind of the mid/western part of the United States, but not the Midwest, like many of my colleagues on this call today. So if you've seen Western cowboy movies and things like that, know that many of them were probably set in the state of Colorado, but that's not at all what it looks like today. When it comes to our environment here in Boulder, we have been called or ranked the #1 college campus or college town in the US for multiple years in a row. And what being a college town means is that the university is at the center of the heart of the city itself. And then the city is built around the university. So our students make up about 1/3 of the overall population of the city of Boulder, which means we're not rural by any means. We're not in the middle of nowhere, but as you can see, we're in a really great suburban environment right up against those Rocky Mountains. In terms of academics, we do offer over 150 different majors across our 8 different colleges, schools, and programs. Now, our 8th college school program that's not listed there on this slide is the program in exploratory studies, and that's because it's not a degree granting program. That particular program is for those of you who are ultimately undecided when you're applying to college. And we've talked a lot about that today. But as Lorenzo shared, I too switched my major several times when I was a student during university and still graduated on time. And I wish the program in exploratory studies had existed when I was a student, because it certainly could have helped me. The academic advisors, like we mentioned earlier, are super awesome in that program in particular. But we're probably best known for any of our majors within the College of Engineering and Applied Science, things like aerospace engineering, creative technology design, and computer science. Our Leeds School of Business is also very well known because we do offer more MBA style coursework for your bachelor's degree. So that means classes are a little bit more rigorous and challenging, but you're very well prepared to potentially go on to an MBA program at CU or another institution, or go directly into your field or industry of choice. But like I said, with over 150 different majors, there are tons of different science, STEM, social sciences, humanities, you name it. We probably have something that fits it just under some name that maybe you don't know what to look up yet. In terms of outside of the classroom, the students like to ski, snowboard, hike, rock climb, and just take advantage of the overall outdoors that we have such easy access to here in Colorado. There's so many great things to do outside. And especially right now, the weather here is really nice. So it's a really great time to get out there and enjoy that. But if you're like me and you like inside a little bit better than you like outside, but there's plenty of student clubs, organizations, film screenings, famous speakers coming to campus and whatnot for you to get involved in and go see. And so make sure that you're having fun in college too, because college is mostly about learning, but it's also a little bit about fun for 4 years. So I look forward to answering any questions that you might have. But with that being said, I'm going to hand things over to Shannon to talk a little bit about Mizzou.
Hello again. I am pleased to introduce you all to the University of Missouri. Our nickname is Mizzou, and our mascot is the Bengal tiger that you see here. His name is Truman. So we are a fairly large, comprehensive research university. We have 30,000 students, including international students from more than 100 countries. And with the theme of this overall presentation being about majors, I'll tell you a little bit about our academic programs. We have 300 total degree programs from bachelor's through PhD and about 100 undergraduate majors to choose from. I think something that's really great about Mizzou is that we really do emphasize those opportunities for interdisciplinary learning, and that happens both inside the classroom and taking different coursework in different areas, as well as engaging in different projects with different disciplines, as well as outside the classroom in things like internships, research, and student competition groups. Some of our more popular majors, or what we're most known for at Mizzou, would be in journalism, business, STEM fields, and as I mentioned earlier, psychology does happen to be among our most popular areas of study, but you will find a wide range of opportunities at Mizzou. And I just wanted to do kind of 3 fun facts about the university. One is that we have the oldest school of journalism in the world. So journalism is a really big deal at Mizzou, something where we have a lot of tradition and pride, and where we have a lot of different offerings related to journalism, strategic communication, and advertising. Second fun fact is we have the most powerful nuclear research reactor on a college campus in the US. So this leads to a lot of great interdisciplinary research, as well as connections to industry, where we are a producer of radiopharmaceuticals that go towards cancer treatments. The third fun fact is that we have the original Engineers Week, or E-Week, on a college campus in the US. And for us, this is an 8-day celebration of all things engineering. We even light our dome that you see there. Our dome, it's lit green each year to let everyone know that it's Engineer Week. And there's a lot of different celebrations and traditions that go along with that. So just a few fun facts about the university. And one thing I do want to let you know is we do have a very vibrant student life experience. There's a strong connection to community and to the university. And a really great way to learn about what it's like to be a student at Mizzou is to connect with our international student ambassadors. So we have ambassadors who are from different countries and different academic programs, and I invite you to connect with them to really learn more in depth about how they're getting the most out of their university experience and how they find it being a student, and particularly an international student at Mizzou. With that, I will go ahead and pass it along.
Great. Thanks, Shannon. So I'm just going to introduce you pretty quickly here to University of Wisconsin-Madison. So like all my other colleagues here, we're a large public research institution. UW-Madison is located in the upper Midwest of the United States, in beautiful Madison, Wisconsin, as you can see here from the aerial photo. So a good waypoint for a lot of students is that we're located about 2.5 hours northwest of the Chicago area. So oftentimes that's one of the larger international airports that a lot of students will fly into. So we have about 125 different majors on our campus and 70 different minor options, which we call certificate programs here at UW. And so those are spread across 10 different schools and colleges. A couple of the most popular ones here being the Wisconsin School of Business and the College of Engineering. Both those programs rank in the top 15 in the US for their respective programs. They have a variety of different majors for students to choose from in any of those fields. And so but we also have, obviously majors spread across many other of our schools and colleges. Our largest one that we have on campus is our College of Letters and Science, which is home to about 50% of our undergraduate population. And that houses a lot of different majors, things in the natural sciences like biology and chemistry, popular majors like economics, and our computer science major, which is actually our most rapidly growing program that we have here on our campus that has some really interesting specializations in things like artificial intelligence and machine learning, and a variety of different research opportunities for students in that program, and for any of our programs here at the undergraduate level. I think some things outside the classroom that a lot of our students like to pursue are, oftentimes associated with different student organizations. So we have over 1,000 different student organizations here on our campus. A lot of those are things, that can be related to different multicultural identities, things related to your specific, field of study. Like we have some different, programs for, say, for example, women in STEM fields, or for students in the arts that can live together in communities. So there's a variety of different ways to find students from, with similar backgrounds, with similar interests, so that you can form some community here in Madison, Wisconsin. So yeah, happy to answer some more questions if you have some specific ones about the university. But with that, I will pass it on to whoever's next.
Great, thanks, Jared. So now I'd like to introduce the University of Vermont, or UVM as we're also known. So we're located in the northeast part of the United States in a city called Burlington, which is a top college town that's ranked very highly in terms of health and safety. So UVM is a medium-sized public research university. We have about 10,000 undergraduate students on our campus, and we offer over 100 different majors for our students to choose from. And they range from options like business to engineering to the liberal arts. But we also have a few unique programs, particularly within the sciences. So you heard me talk a little bit about sustainability earlier. So we do have 22 different majors related to the environment, but we also have other science-based majors such as molecular genetics or microbiology and the health sciences as well. And then in addition to all of the undergraduate majors that we offer, 40 of our majors, you have the option of doing an accelerated master's degree in. So that's like what Jared was talking about earlier, where you can get your bachelor's and your master's degrees in only 5 years, which is going to save you some time and money. Now, UVM is known for research opportunities available to undergraduate students. We are a research university similar to the other universities that are represented here today, but I thought it would be helpful to give you some examples of what doing research as an undergraduate student looks like here at my university. So we have some students helping professors analyze data using one of the world's fastest supercomputers, which we have located right on our campus. And then other students help professors see how climate change is impacting large lakes at our Aquatic Research Center, which is located on Lake Champlain. And that's that lake that you can see right here, right in the center of the screen here. But then in thinking about our campus community at the University of Vermont and thinking about the students that make up our community, we really find that our students are very active and they're very passionate about what they're involved in. And so we find that this involvement really falls into 3 categories that our students have in common. The first being that our students are very passionate about social justice and community activism and making UVM a safe and welcoming place for all students. And then our students also care very much about the environment and living as sustainably as possible, which has really helped to make UVM a top 4 green university in the United States. And then similar to CU Boulder, our students really have a love of outdoors culture. And so they really love getting out on Lake Champlain or going hiking or biking or skiing in the many mountains that are close by to campus. And then really briefly, I'll just mention a little bit about the city of Burlington, where we're located, because I think living in the city of Burlington is really a highlight of a student's UVM experience. So we are also known as a top college town, similar to the other places that my colleagues represent. But we really are known as a top college town really because of all of the different shops and restaurants that our students can take advantage of, but also because we have a really wonderful booming arts and music scene. But something that a lot of people don't know about the city of Burlington is that we are known as a top 10 technology hub in the United States. And that's really because of all of the different companies and organizations based here, which of course means internship opportunities and job opportunities for our students. So just a brief introduction for you about the University of Vermont. And last but not least, I'll turn it over to Zach to talk about Rutgers.
Thank you. So again, hi. Rutgers is located on the east coast of the United States. It is a very large public research institution. So when I say large, we have about 30,000 undergraduate students alone, about 55,000 overall, including our graduate students as well. Of those 36,000 undergraduate students, we have just about 7,000 international students on our campus from more than 113 different countries. We're actually quite a diverse campus. We're actually part of the Big Ten conference, and we are actually one of the most diverse in the Big Ten. So it's something that we're very, very, very excited about. So we're located in New Brunswick, in New Jersey, which is really nicely centrally located in the middle of the state. And I think actually our location is probably one of the best things about our school. New Brunswick is a small city. It's not New York City, but it has everything that you would expect from a city, from coffee shops to comedy clubs, different restaurants, all kinds of different food. And it's actually just a short walk away from campus. On top of that, we are very, very close to all of the major East Coast cities like New York City, which is only 45 minutes away, and Philadelphia, which is only 90 minutes. And actually both of those cities can be reached by train. That is only about a 10-minute walk from our campus. On top of that, we're about 3 hours from Baltimore, 4 hours from Washington, DC, and 5 hours from Boston. So we're very, very, very close to all of those major cities, which is great for our students who aren't from the East Coast, so they can go and explore everything the East Coast has to offer. But on top of that, it opens the door to a tremendous amount of professional opportunities while you're in school and even after you graduate. So each year we actually have more than 500 different employers visit our campus from different cities, mostly New York and Philadelphia, but they come to meet with our students to help them with networking, helping them build their resume, and even providing them with internships and even jobs after graduation. So it's something that is really, really great for our students to be able to go and explore all of the things and all of the businesses and organizations that call those cities home. On top of that, as great as the cities and stuff are, we're about an hour away from some pretty nice beaches on the Jersey Shore. So in the summer, if you have some free time, you want to go and go see the ocean, go hang out on the boardwalk. It's just a short drive away and something that our students take advantage of quite a bit. So at Rutgers, we have more than 100 different majors that are housed in actually 7 of our first year schools that students can apply to. When students are applying to Rutgers, the one thing that I always like to make sure that I mention is that you don't actually have to apply to a specific major. You're just applying to a school that houses the major you're interested in. I saw a lot of students that were interested in maybe doing something like computer sciences. That is actually housed in our School of Arts and Sciences. And you don't actually have to declare that as your major when you're applying. All you have to do is just apply to that school. So that's just one of the things that I want to make sure that I get to mention with Rutgers. With that, I know that we're kind of getting close to our time here. So I want to make sure that we have plenty of time for our Q&A section. So actually this next slide is actually just a little bit of information, some important stuff, just some deadlines for dates for applications, the type of applications that all of our schools accept. So we'll kind of just leave this up here for you to kind of just browse around. And when we come to the end of this presentation, we'll actually have all of our contact information up there. So if there is anything that you end up having questions about, please feel free to email us. I can't stress that enough. All of us would be so happy to help you with whatever that you have. So please don't be shy. Let us know if you have anything. And with that, I'll hand it over to our pro moderator, Caitlin.
Thank you, Zach. So we've gotten to the Q&A portion of the day today. So thank you so much for your great attention. I know we've been giving you a lot of information. So we really appreciate you listening in, and also appreciate all the questions I see that we've received so far. So we will do our best to get through as many as we can. I know we don't have very much time left, but we'll go ahead and dive in. I'm going to start to answer some of the questions that are related to majors first, since that was the bulk of our presentation, but then I'll try to get to some more of the student life questions as well. But this question is just about the timeline really for earning a bachelor's degree. The student says they're not sure what major they want, but they would like to earn a bachelor's degree as quickly as possible. So how should they go about making their academic plan, and what recommendations would we have? So any of my colleagues have any recommendations for trying to complete a bachelor's degree as quickly as you can?
Oh, everyone unmuted.
Lorenzo, you go ahead first.
No, I was just gonna say, I mean, so a couple of things here. Definitely, like if you want to complete a major quickly, then I would say throw in summer terms for sure. But the other component of it is, you know, you're not sure what you'd like to study, which is totally fine. And so what I would just recommend there is kind of something that I think we've all kind of mentioned throughout, but just you do have that freedom to explore various subject areas, and the great thing about it is that they will count towards pretty much any degree that you eventually choose to get, you know, once you declare that major. So you don't necessarily have to think of it as wasting time, because it really isn't. It's really just helping you find what you want to study, and if you're constantly, you know, taking classes, you'll eventually find out what your passion is and what you want to make sure you get a major or you apply as a major to that particular program. And so that would be my recommendation. But also, you know, if if time, you know, it's not going to be that big of a deal, I would say enjoy the 4 years as well, because it's a pretty amazing experience. So either way, you can definitely accomplish whichever, you know, your goal might be. But that would be my recommendation. Not sure if anyone else wants to add anything to that.
I have two quick recommendations if I can add. The first would be, we've talked about the people who are here to support you, and that includes your academic advisor, and they're going to be a really key individual to helping you if you are speaking to them about potentially trying to graduate early, because you're going to, not only, as Lorenzo said, probably want to take summer coursework, which you do have to be enrolled as a full-time student to maintain your student visa. So if you take classes over the summer, that's something to keep in mind. But as well, they're the individual at large universities, and I know that this is the case at CU Boulder. It's often true that visiting with your academic advisor is only required 1, if not 2 times, typically before you start university, that summer before your first year, and then maybe 1 more time before graduation. Some smaller colleges have the capacity and the ability to be emailing you consistently to meet with your advisor. And that's not really the case at some larger schools. So it's really going to be key to advocate for yourself in what you need, want, and are interested in to complete that program as quickly as possible, and to schedule regular meetings. So just because they're not actively reaching out to you doesn't mean they're not ready and available to assist you. That's absolutely their job. There's just so many students that you reaching out first is going to be super, super helpful to make sure that you get the support that you need to be able to graduate early. So that is really my biggest recommendation, because other than don't take advice from me because I changed my major 4 times, really what I tend to say though is the reason I was still able to graduate in 4 years, study abroad, and change my major 4 times is because I had excellent academic advisors who I utilized and met with every semester as a student to make sure that I could still complete my degree on time.
Great. And since we're talking about this theme of graduating within 4 years, there is a question here asking, if I double major, can I still graduate within 4 years? But then adding on to that, is a double major the same thing as a double degree? So does someone want to take that on?
I'd be happy to kick it off, although my apologies if my internet gets a little shaky. So as far as majors go in degree programs, it is essentially the same. If you're doing a double major, you have to complete the full degree requirements of both programs in order to earn a degree in both areas. However, as Lorenzo mentioned earlier, there's oftentimes a lot of overlap in terms, especially of those general education coursework. So in terms of how long it takes to complete the double degree, in some situations, it certainly can be completed within the 4 years, especially if you're strategic and work with your academic advisor to map that out. But that's especially if there's some areas of study where you have more work. If you're doing 2 very different areas of study, so let's say you're doing engineering and music, which are very demanding degree programs that have a lot of their own requirements, then it could be a little bit more difficult to that in 4 years.
Great, thank you, Shannon. We have a lot of questions coming in, so I'm going to try to group a few together. And there are a couple questions just about different institution type. So one of the questions is asking, depending on major, you know, what should I consider different institution types, such as a research institution versus a liberal arts college? And then further down, there was a question related to what are the merits studying at research universities? And then also, as an undergraduate student, will I have a chance to participate in research projects? So I kind of wanted to loop the 3 together to kind of answer them all at once. But, you know, I think you absolutely can take major into consideration when you're looking at your college choice and choosing which specific type of institution you want to attend. If you are going into a major that's going to be very research heavy, such as within the sciences, and you know that research is a personal goal of your own, and that's something that you want to do, then absolutely you should consider and take a look at different research institutions, because undergraduate students do have the option of doing research projects. That's something that all of our universities offer for students. So that's absolutely a possibility. And of course, that's one of the merits of attending a research university, is having those opportunities to do a research project, to work very closely with faculty on a research project, but then also to have the fantastic facilities that are possibly available to doctoral students or medical students that you as an undergraduate student would also have access to. So that's another benefit there. And then on the flip side, if you are a student that's maybe only interested in maybe less so on research, but maybe more on theory, and you really want to focus your studies at a very interdisciplinary level, then maybe a liberal arts college would be a better fit for you. But then also keeping in mind that a lot of research universities are going to have a liberal arts college as part of their institutions as well. So I just wanted to take a moment to loop all those questions in together, as I know we're running out of time soon and that we have a lot to get to. But here's another question that I'm hoping one of my colleagues can answer. That's, if I did not take specific courses in high school that are required for my major of interest, is there anything I can do? So, if you maybe are missing the math requirement for that engineering program, are there any options available for students? Anyone want to take that?
Yeah, I can take a stab at that one real quick. So for that, again, I think the example that, was used earlier about math and engineering, I think is probably one of the easiest examples, because that's, I think, pretty common at schools and similar with us as well. So at UW, we have for engineering a direct entry option where students will apply to begin in engineering right away during their freshman year. But then we also have students that maybe don't get in via direct entry and then have the opportunity to apply to get into the College of Engineering if they don't meet those requirements. So what that would look like then is, say, maybe you don't have the availability to take higher level calculus in high school. What you can do is you can come to our campus. You can take, usually a year of, oftentimes like similar, general education type of classes that a lot of other engineering students are going to be taking, lots of math and lots of science, and then apply to begin in the College of Engineering after your first year. So beginning at the beginning of your second year. So I think that's, one example. And again, I think that's just probably the most common one as far as like majors that are going to have, specific requirements on coursework prior to entering.
Great, thank you. So unfortunately, we are out of time, so we do have to stop asking or answering questions right now. But again, I just want to say thank you so much for your great attention. Thank you for your wonderful questions. You have our contact information here, so please don't hesitate to reach out to us if you would like to ask these questions to us directly. We are more than happy to answer those questions after today. But with that, I'm going to stop sharing my screen and turn it back over to our friends in Education USA.
Thank you so much all for asking many questions and also answering so many questions. Thank you so much. I think we learned a lot from your presentation and also from the Q&A sessions. I hope everyone enjoyed the session. If you have any questions, please do not hesitate to contact Education USA near you, and also to the panelists today. Thank you again so much. So we will conclude this webinar now. Thank you all for a wonderful presentation. Thank you so much for getting up late till late. So please have a good night for the speakers and have a great day to the participants. Thank you so much.
Thanks for having us. See you.